Bismillah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Ika Sarwantika, and now I want to tell you about 5 pillars of Islam. The basic rites of Islam that were revealed to the Prophet are the pillars of Islam. These are considered to be the entire ritual structure of the Islamic religion because they are the 5 essential and obligatory practices that Muslims follow. These pillars also have certain disciplinary effects in curbing the excess desire of the believers, in teaching them to do things together for the welfare for the group and for the purification of their souls. The 5 rituals consist of Syahada, Salah, zakah, fasting, and the Hajj. Number 1. Syahada. Syahada is the first of the 5 pillars. It is known as the profession of faith or bearing witness. It is a 2-part statement. The first part in Arabic reads, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, which means I bear witness that there is no God but God. The second half of the profession in Arabic is wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, which means and that Muhammad is the messenger of God. By saying the full statement, I bear witness that there is no God but God and that Muhammad is the messenger of God, a person becomes a Muslim. The first half of the Syahada is important because it affirms Islam's absolute monotheism and unshakable and uncompromising faith in the oneness or unity of God. It is also the confirmation of their reliance on God for all things. The second half of the Shahada is the affirmation of Muhammad as the messenger of God, the last and the final prophet, who served as a model for the Muslim community. The second of the 5 pillars is Salah, which is prayer. This is not just whimsical prayer, but the ritual and obligatory prayer that is carried out during 5 specific times during the day. The times of prayer are fixed to these times. Number 1. Fajr, when the sky is filled with light but before actual sunrise. Number 2. Zuhur, immediately after midday. Number 3. Asar, sometime between 3 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Number 4. Maghrib, after sunset but before the onslaught of darkness. And number 5. Isha, any hour of darkness. This prayer may be performed wherever the person finds themselves at any of those times, or it can be performed in a mosque with others. At each of these 5 times during the day, all around the world, the muazzin announced the call to prayer by saying azan. Before prayer, the worshippers must perform ghusl or wudu, which is the ritual cleansing of the body. This is to make sure that each person is ritually pure, which is a necessity for divine worship. Ghusl is what is done after an act of great defilement, for example, sexual intercourse, and wudu is done after an act of small development. For example, sleep, satisfying the calls of nature, and common contact with the opposite sex. While praying, all Muslims face the direction of Mecca. The prayers themselves consist of 2 to 4 prostration, depending on the time of the day. Each prostration begins with the declaration, Allahu Akbar, and consists of both prostration and the recitation of fixed prayer that include the opening verse of the Quran and other passages from the Quran. At the end, the Shahada is said again, and the peace is greeting. Peace be upon all of you and the mercy and the blessings of God. It's said twice. Number 3. Zakah. The third of the 5 pillars is almsgiving or poor due. All adult Muslims who are able to do so are obligated to pay wealth tax annually. Zakah literally means giving back to Allah a portion of His bounty as means of avoiding the sufferings of the next life. There is no exact amount that must be given, but is usually between 2 and 3% of their accumulated wealth and asset. The money collected for zakah is to be kept in the public treasury and spent for public and religious services and works. These services and works make up 8 categories of people. Zakah is for the poor and needy. To put it simply, alms are to be used to support the poor, orphans, and widows, to free serfs and debtors, and to assist in the spread of Islam. Number 4 is fasting, which leads to the fourth of the 5 pillars is fasting, including obligatory and bonus fast. The more obligatory fast involves abstention from food, drink, and sexual intercourse from dawn to sunset during the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is the 9th month of Islamic calendar. During this month, all adult Muslims whose health permit must participate in this fast. The sick and those on a journey are not required to fast, but they must try to make up the day's loss when possible. Also, women do not fast during their menstrual period. Breastfeeding mothers also do not fast. The fast is broken directly after sunset with a light meal. The people that are fasting may eat until dawn, and this culminates with a sahur or dawn meal. This early morning meal must sustain the faster until sunset. Based on the cycle of the moon, the period of Ramadan could last between 28 and 30 days. The last of the 5 pillars is Hajj. The Hajj is the pilgrimage to Mecca that Muslims take at least once in a lifetime if they can afford to and are physically able. The Hajj takes place during the first 10 days of the 12th month of the Muslim lunar calendar, which is Dhul Hijjah. The pilgrimage consists of a series of visits and even to different areas of Mecca. These are a visit to the Masjid al-Haram, kissing the black stone, curcumin, blessing the Kaaba 7 times, tawaf there 3 times at a round, and 4 at a quick fact. A visit to Maqam Ibrahim, where there is a sacred stone upon which Ibrahim claimed while lying the upper curse of the Kaaba. There is also the ascent to Mount Safa, whence the pilgrim runs to Mount Marwa 7 times, then to Mount Arafah on the 9th day of the pilgrimage. When at Arafah the wukuf takes place, this is the culminating point of the pilgrimage. That the entire ceremony will be null and void without this. After this, at sunset of the 9th day, the pilgrim moved to the valley between Arafah and Mina, Muzdalifah, which is where they spend the night, and then move to Mina at sunrise. At Mina, they cast 7 little pebbles pick up at Muzdalifah while reciting Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. The casting of the 7 pebbles is in commemoration of Ibrahim's escape for Satan, when tempted by him at this spot to sacrifice his son by his throwing 7 stones at him. The ceremony ends at Mina with the sacrifice of a sheep or goat that pilgrim had consecrated during the Hajj. The meat is then eaten by the owners and shared with the poor of Mecca. This day is known as the Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Adha, or the Feast of the Offerings. It is celebrated throughout the world by Muslims sacrificing an animal just like the animals that are sacrificed in Mina. The 5 pillars are the core of Muslims' duty to worship God. These 5 obligations of every Muslim are the backbone to the Islamic faith. They guide every follower into a life of devotion and servitude to God of God. Each of them has been carried out since Muhammad brought them back to his followers so many years ago, and despite the rich diversity in Islamic practice, the 5 pillars of Islam remain the core and common denominator, the 5 essential and obligatory practices all Muslims accept and follow. I think that's all of me. Thank you so much for your full attention. Finally, I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.